for the Voice of Reason podcast. Here are your hosts, Sean Phillips, Andy Van Beber, and Travis Kirkendall.
And ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Thank you all joining us live. This is the Voice of Reason podcast, and we are up and running.
Woohoo.
Barely moving, but surviving. That's how we are here on this side of the of the show. V, how about you? How are things treating you today?
Oh, I am. We discussed briefly, but we're here. We're here.
Yes.
We're alive, and we're kicking. So,
barely. Yeah.
Barely.
Yeah. I am. Today has been a day for me. Let me tell you. I did some checking on my MyPay, which is a form of a way to check your pay and when you're going to get paid if you're in the military. Right. And I went to check, and I noticed my paycheck was about $900 short. And I was like, well, that's a pretty substantial margin. And so I did some digging to find out, okay, well, why is it that short? And the military had decided that I owed a debt. And I was like, okay, well, where's this supposed debt from? And they claim it was from between the months of February of 2022 to August of 2022, so well over 3 years ago. They claim that during that period of time, they overpaid me $1,700, which is what they claim. God. And instead of giving me a heads up or a, hey, this is what the situation is, they decided this paycheck and next paycheck, we're going to recoup our money of $870 per check and not give you a heads up, not give you any warning.
Thanks,
and
Elon.
So I spent the duration of the day on the phone trading emails because, of course, these people don't want to actually talk to you and answer why there's a problem. They prefer to do everything via email.
They don't want to.
So I spent the day trying to track that down and get some things taken care of to where Uncle Sam can have his money from 3 years ago back that I was not aware that I was even getting paid. Because trust me, I would have noticed if I was getting that much extra cash in my
you would know.
In my account, it would have popped my radar. Oh, I'm getting an extra $300 per paycheck right now. That's crazy. And so for them to, instead of taking $900 out of a check, they can get their cash back, we'll say $50 a month until the debt is paid off. So that is the situation that I was in today.
Dude,
definitely not a pleasant surprise. However, today is a very good day. On the flip side, because today is actually technically the 2-year anniversary of my marriage. So
hey. 2 years.
2 years ago, my
beach in Malibu.
Filipino mail order bride and I got married on the beach in Malibu, and I needed to continue to do some digging, but I don't even think that the restaurant that was next to that beach is there. I unfortunately think it met its fate recently during the wildfires, but I do have to do some digging to see if that's the case. So how about you? I know it's been crazy for you this week with your guys' situation. But how is and the snow days that we've got?
Snow days, AMI days.
So how does AMI work for you, for high school students?
Alternative means of instruction. It's a way that we don't get days docked against us, and it works to a point. It's not effective as education, but what it is I post homework for high school and junior high. We post homework on, or videos or instruction on Google Classroom, the students access that, and then if it's an assignment and they complete it, then it counts as their attendance. And so we, it's it's not the same. It's not the same. I like the fact that we still get out of school before Memorial Day, and that we don't, we still have 2 days, 2 snow days that we haven't burned through yet, but, and then coming up next week is going to be more weather that's going to suck. And it is what it is. We do want to mention tonight too, there's kind of a sad note, but our thoughts and prayers of the Voice of Reason podcast go out to the community of Pittsfield. I know we have some friends, Jonathan Guthrie, and all those who listen to us over there in Pittsfield, on the young lady who was killed in a car accident on Tuesday night, and the other two girls in the car who were injured. One of which I used to coach in soccer and t-ball way back in the day, but. Our hearts go out to
these
them.
are high school students.
High
correct?
school girls. Was not their fault. It was not alcohol or drug or texting related or anything like that. It was the fault of the other driver trying to pass a semi on a hill in a no passing zone, and hit the girl's head on. So it's been rough, so. I know that Clopton and Bowling Green tomorrow's going to be both of our first days back since the snow days, and we both have kind of coordinated Beth Holland over there, the counselor over there. We're going to be wearing red to show our support for Pittsfield. That's their school colors. And so, it's times like this when you really want to emphasize the fact that and it's morbid to say, but man, make the most of every day that you have, young or old, because we're not, and it's so sad to say that we're not guaranteed tomorrow. We're not guaranteed anything in this life, and it's just been it's been very difficult to deal with, and for those kids over there, because we still have a lot of contacts and a lot of friends and a lot of Briley's old classmates, and just
of course, yeah.
And so it's just been we talked to one of our friends yesterday. She called us and let us know what was going on and everything, and our neighbor, and it's just it's going to be hard for that community. It's just difficult. Today was their first
Very
day back.
much so.
Today was their first day back at school too. So, but anyway,
yeah, no, our hearts and thoughts and prayers are definitely with the Pittsfield community, and that's especially a community that I know you're very familiar with. You spent quite a bit of time out there,
15 years of my life
and
over there. So.
Again, that just is one of those, be patient, especially behind the wheel.
Yeah.
There are very similar instances where I'm driving, especially on some of these, where we live, there's many a back roads. Sometimes you get caught behind a semi. Sometimes you get caught behind a cattle truck. You get caught behind a combine. You get caught behind a tractor.
Right.
Just be patient. Just regardless of where you're going. Not to, there was the other day, I was on my way to school with my kid in the back, and I had a young teenage driver pass me, and in doing so, they easily were going between 80 and 90 miles per hour. And they almost swerved off into the road. Their tire, I still see it on my way to drop my kiddo off, of the dirt that they tore up when they almost tilted themselves over, swerved back into the other lane, is still on there. And there's no need to get anywhere that fast, because
I will
to
tell
put in
you,
perspective,
as a result of that, we spoke with our school resource officer, and ever since that morning, now we have a great resource officer this year, and he purposely now he comes to work 20 minutes earlier, and he sits about a mile and a half down the road from the school, and does.
Yep. I've seen him. It was literally the next day, the next day after that incident. Yeah. And so just, the thing is, again, the ironic part about it is that incident happened where a young man could have potentially hurt himself, hurt others,
you,
and it might, yes, but also only beat me to the school by a whopping 10 seconds.
Right.
And not because I was speeding behind him, but because after he passed me, there were other cars coming from the other direction, and he got caught up behind other cars. So it's
And so
not
it didn't
like
do
he
any
could
good.
have,
Right.
swerved around again. So it didn't do him any good. When
Right.
you're already that close to school, especially you're less than 2 miles away,
You're not
and
you're not getting anything. No.
and you're 20 minutes early. Like, trust me, there's gonna be plenty of biscuits and gravy there by the
Yeah.
time you
You're
get
right.
to
Right.
breakfast. But with that said, I there's been quite a bit of things that have kind of come and gone with sports, politics, this,
Oh,
that, and the other.
let's go ahead and get the
And
elephant out of the room. Just go ahead and say it. You're happy that the axis of evil did not win the Super Bowl. Let's just go ahead and get that
yes.
out of the way.
So basically, the Super Bowl, kind of what happened was, the Super Bowl the last 2 years before this one was basically Avengers Infinity War. All right, where it didn't matter. It didn't matter what happened. Thanos was going to collect the Infinity Stones, and
Oh
this
man.
year the ensemble came together. You have Captain America and Saquon Barkley teaming up with Iron Man, and building this team, and the brain,
Oh,
the Nick Sirianni, and they
that
go
guy.
out there and they defeat Thanos and his, which is Patrick Mahomes, and they defeat Thanos, and not just what could have been
Oh
a good
my
game. It
God.
was pretty much a one-sided
It was. Oh, that
dog
was. I want to
walking.
tell you something. That game, the first Super Bowl, even with the Chiefs not when the Super Bowls that even the Chiefs aren't even involved in, I usually will watch. I'm an avid football fan. Sean knows
Hmm.
this,
Hmm.
and I usually beginning to end. I was so disgusted, and I am a Chiefs fan. I've been a Chiefs fan since '92. I can go through. I mean, during the Elvis Gerback, Joe Montana, Dave Craig, Trent Green. I've been through the worst. I've been through the Marty Schottenheimer days. I've been through all these bad coaches and bad Herm Edwards. I've been through it all. But I was never so disgusted by just the Chiefs' performance, lack thereof. And I actually posted a meme on. I posted a meme on Facebook the next day. It was like a Scooby Doo thing where they're unmasking the criminal at the end, and they pull off Patrick Mahomes' face, and it's Dak Prescott. And I said, I knew it the whole time. I knew. I mean, because that's what he reminded me of.
Sure.
He looked like somebody who was just some young. I mean, just young rookie who didn't know what was going on, and it was terrible.
Well, the two things that I kind of took from it. One, there was someone that compiled a video that was about 15 different plays where Travis Kelce, I mean,
Drop.
just not even remotely
No.
trying.
Mm-mm.
Like there's
Phoning it in.
there's obviously, like, oh, maybe he can't get open, but no, there was a play specifically, one of the ones where
I know exactly what you're talking
it
about.
ended up being an incomplete pass to, no, it was Mahomes gained like 4 yards. I think a holding got called back, but after Mahomes circled out of the pocket, Kelce didn't get open in his route. The defense collapsed on him, but then he just didn't move. He literally is walking. He sees Mahomes running, and instead of turning to block, he is walking up the field. And then it was just play after play. There's a play where it was crazy because they showed like second by second of, on the play, Kelce was on the line, is supposed to block, and the entire offensive line, ball is snapped. It shows the other individuals. The offensive line has jumped off the ball. The defensive players are jumping towards the ball, and Kelce is still in a 3-point stance before he gets up. And that was a play where
he was
the edge
his
came
play
off
was
and
his
sacked.
play was.
Yeah.
And the thing is, what did they say that both the defensive and offensive line of the Eagles is the biggest by far on both categories? Their line is the biggest by far.
I know that their
Their defensive
defensive line has been solid. It's been led by Jalen Carter has been the guy,
God,
which
that
he
man
shouldn't
is
even be in the
massive.
NFL. He should be in prison, but that's a different story for a
Yes,
different day.
yes, yeah,
Should
that's
have
what
been a
it's.
chief.
Come
But
on.
no, their offensive line. I mean, even after they lost Jason Kelsey, there was no downgrade. They're
No,
smart,
no.
and that's the thing is like the Eagles. They've played it smart with the teams they've built. Yeah, they have guys that pass protect, but when you have a guy that's as mobile as Jalen Hurts, they just need you to be big and strong to push. That is as crazy as it sounds. Jalen Hurts is a quarterback, an
He's had
NFL
all
quarterback who
day
squats
long.
600 pounds,
Yeah,
squats 600 pounds. And so that there's a reason why they are like, hey, we're going to tush push. They run a power dynamic offense, which primarily when you have a guy like Saquon Barkley who can run in between the numbers outside the edges, as long as they get that initial push, Saquon Barkley is going to have a field day. Um,
and I'm glad
I
it
think
wasn't. I'm glad it wasn't too like the last time that the Chiefs lost was against Tampa Bay, and
Tampa Bay.
and it was with Tom Brady, and I loathe Tom Brady just like everybody else loathes Patrick Mahomes, and but when losing to I don't have because I have respect for Jalen Hurts, I have respect for Saquon Barkley, a great and just overall just a great organization. Nick Sirianni I'm sure he's going to get Coach of the Year. He should get Coach of the Year because he's just a mad genius. And what was the last time that they lost? Was it October or September? The last time that they lost?
Something like
It was mid
that because
October.
they definitely I would say the Eagles definitely underperformed on the season
Yeah.
and compared to mind you they still won their division. That's not hard to do in that division, but
Mm-mm.
you
NFC, yeah.
had your surprise in Washington. Actually Washington had put together a very solid run of things. Obviously they made it to the NFC Championship game where they were
God,
absolutely dismantled by the Eagles,
dismantled.
but um, no, I just think I think in watching the game, um, it almost feels like pretty realistically that the defensive coordinator of the Eagles said, "Hey, we're just going to watch back the footage of what Tampa Bay did to the Chiefs in that Super Bowl, and that
And
was
that's
you
yeah.
run for you. We don't blitz all day. We have our four off the line are going to beat their offensive line, and as long as we put pressure on them, we'll be able to double the guys we need to double." And I mean, it was just and Mahomes looked flustered. There was a time where maybe if they would have scored before the half, where Patrick threw behind DeAndre Hopkins, and it just would have. He probably
Yep.
would have scored on that play. It was wide open. He
Yep.
dropped it. It was kind of behind him, but I mean, it just from the rip was a one-sided affair. And to make matters worse, in my opinion, and I don't want to sound like an old man yelling at the clouds, but we then get one of the most I'm not even going to say bad, because
No.
inherently the performance itself was not bad, but it was the most lackluster, boring Super Bowl
Oh, the
halftime
halftime
show that
show.
that I have seen since Tom Petty and the Rockers,
Oh, that's
or
yeah.
Tom Petty
And the
and
Heartbreakers.
whatever the rest,
Yep.
Heartbreakers.
Yep.
Tom
That
Petty and
was
the
that
Heartbreakers.
man.
And
You're dating yourself. You're dating yourself right there. That was a boring
yes,
halftime show.
yes, that and again, so what's funny is I see a lot of people talk about like, oh, we just want rock bands again. It's like, no, 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 no. I rock bands are fine, but there's a specific reason why after people got to understand they had pop stars. Pop stars were a thing that were used back in the day during the halftime show, and then Justin Timberlake and Janet Jackson ruined that for
Yes, they did
individuals.
with
So
the
there
wardrobe
was a
malfunction.
span of time where they did not have pop stars solely for that reason, is the FCC was upset, and
And that's why
so they had older.
MTV that was the last Super Bowl that MTV produced too.
Yes. And so they brought in older rock bands. That was the mix. And they varied it with pop stars. Ironically, Justin Timberlake ended up getting the Super Bowl again in
I forgot
years
about
later,
that
which was
too.
still crazy to me. But like I feel like every year there's always going to be someone that's like, oh, that's one of the worst performances, yada yada. But I tell you what, when I saw the weekend that was a phenomenal performance. When
Yeah,
I
it wasn't
saw
that.
Rihanna, that was
When they
a
did
phenomenal
the Los,
performance.
I thought the Los Angeles Super Bowl with Dre and
With all of
everybody, that was
the
a
class,
star-studded.
yes.
Yes, that was a great one.
But
That was a great
but
one.
here's the thing about all of those individuals that we've seen. Even if you didn't like Maroon 5 has been around since
They
2002.
they did a good. They
And and the thing is,
Bruno
these are
Mars.
bands, these are performers. When Katy Perry did it back in 2015,
Mm-hmm.
since then, these are all performers that have mega hit after mega hit that are household names. Okay. Now, if you want to say Kendrick Lamar is a household name, fine. You can say that, sure. But what you can't say is that he has mega hit after mega hit,
He does
because
not.
I am a hip hop fan. I
Yeah.
love hip hop and rap. I have listened to Kendrick Lamar since Kendrick Lamar was a thing.
Right.
And even I knew that when they announced this, like, well, that's a very political pick. They're picking him for a reason. And I think, to make matters worse, is there are songs that Kendrick Lamar has in his catalog that I would consider are his more bigger hits. Chose not to play
So
them
why did he?
solely for the
Why did
fact
he
of
get
a
100? Why was there 135? The most watched NFL, the most watched Super Bowl halftime show of all time.
well, you want to know what though? What I'm seeing, there's two things that I'm seeing about it. One is I've also seen that this was the most watched Super Bowl of all time. But the other thing that I'm seeing is I'm seeing that there are contradicting numbers, like, again, like things that are weird. Because so Rock Nation, which is the same umbrella
Right.
company that produced the Super Bowl the last year, uh, had higher numbers for Usher, but then they went back and deleted the post they had about Usher when they produced this last one. And then I'm also seeing that Michael Jackson's numbers were actually 135 million.
Okay.
But also, if this is the highest watched Super Bowl, naturally, then yes, it's probably also going to be the highest watched halftime show. So next year, I would not be surprised at whoever the hell, because I feel
Drake.
like every year they're breaking the record of more people are watching it, more people are watching it. Um,
People wanted to
which
watch it. I
again,
think it. Don't you? I mean, my theory was this, that the reason why this one got, because of the beef between Drake and Kendrick Lamar, and all of that crap and the lawsuit, and then him, starting. I mean, mentioning Drake by name, and then doing the over obvious, the wink that he did and all that stuff. I mean, I was talking with someone on one of my other lives that I do with my TikTok this week. As one of my former students said, that guy was, and we met. We actually ended up texting each other back and forth. He said that dude was a boss for doing that. I mean, that just showed him that, But I was like, yeah, but is the Super Bowl really the place to air your dirty laundry like that? I mean, you've got Serena Williams there, who used to date Drake, and then just her little 15 seconds of fame of just doing her little dance of whatever she was doing there. And I'm just like, and then, Uncle Samuel L. Jackson. And I don't know. It was very underwhelming
yeah,
for me.
I have said this about many a things, because it's not just the Super Bowl. I'll put it in perspective of, so you take there's a time and place for what I'm going to call as art. There's a time and place for art, and there's a time and place for what should be an overall experience for everyone. There, as silly as it sounds, there's a reason why songs that are, people are not going to like them, even if they're overall liked by, let's say, the rest of the world. There's a reason why songs are on the charts, pop charts or Billboard charts, right? Because for the most part, people enjoy them. The overall world as a whole likes these movies. So the Super Bowl is not a place where we should be too worried about, ooh, if people have to defend why your show was boring by saying you didn't understand the symbolism, or you didn't, stuff went over your head, or no, it wasn't boring, you just don't get it, you're not culturally hip. Okay. All right, old lesbian white lady that's telling me that I'm not culturally hip with Kendrick Lamar. But what
Oh,
gets me is I parallel to like Zack Snyder's Justice League, right?
Oh,
Zack Snyder,
jeez.
I think, is a very
4
good
hours of my
director
life I'll never
in
get
some
back.
cases, but also he likes to paint his pen on what he thinks a movie should be. The reason why things like the Avengers work so well is because they were made for general mainstream audiences, and whether or not people like, oh, they like depth, they like this, yada yada yada, they were still great films that did just enough to be very successful. They built a great story and they were very successful. Whereas the Justice League was, the extended edition, the Snyder, extended cut was just him adding 50 minutes of slow motion scenes. So there's a time and place where too much of the artist, you know, art, let's call it, of
That's
can
stretching it, yeah.
ruin something that could just be, that just it doesn't need all that
I
extra twang.
just
And
get up
I
there and
think for
just let
Kendrick
him
to
get up there
play,
and do it. Yeah.
you're in the biggest position of your career, the highlight, and then you play what the third build song off your latest album. Like
Right. That
that
doesn't add
doesn't
up.
make
No.
sense to me.
No.
You don't play any of your hits
Hits.
from, your other album, that your album that people say allegedly is the biggest snubbing in Grammy history because Macklemore won best rap album over you, and you don't take your biggest hits off that. You don't take your biggest hits off your biggest album to date, which was
Right.
Damn. It's just
Well, and
those things
I
don't
read that
make sense
comment
to
too
me.
that people they were like, why didn't he do Damn? I mean, I was that was that was what blew a lot of people away, and that goes back to my belief that he wanted to, make his quote unquote whatever his statement was, and
Hmm.
get his cut in, and get him extra likes or whatever or follows, and I look back at iconic. I mean, if I look back at some of even the ones I didn't like you said, you mentioned Maroon 5. I'm not a huge Maroon 5 fan. Put on a good
Hmm.
show. To me, the greatest all-time halftime show will always be Prince doing the halftime show in Minnesota when they
Oh
were
yeah.
doing that. To me,
Hmm.
when he did Purple Rain, that and I mean literally raining, and he's just like, and that man's walking around with an electric guitar on a platform that's got water. I would have been scared to death. Michael Jackson, the other one that I remember a lot of was after 9/11 in 2002. They had U2 do it, and Bono was wearing and the whole thing was Bono had his leather jacket all the way up, and at the end, as he's singing "It's a Beautiful Day," he unzips his jacket and he opens it up, and it's
It's a
an American
beautiful
flag,
day.
and
Hmm.
it was just such an. I mean, I just those are moments that just really stick out to me. Um, and you're not going we need to do a country halftime show. No, you don't, because
Or if you do a
make
country
it a bit,
halftime
make
show,
it
make it a big country star. Like make it someone that has
make it
hits.
some
Have it be Tim McGraw, but have it be, you
Garth
know,
Brooks,
I don't
anything.
fuck Cheryl Crow.
Yeah,
Have it be, yeah, have it be someone that has hits, or like they've done in the past, let there be three or four, that are doing their hits. I tell you, there's a couple ones that I would actually be really interested to see. Actually, let me ask you that. Okay, so let's just say, let's get a prediction.
okay.
In, let's say, the next 5 years, give me five names, and we'll see if in the next 5 years any of your predictions are hit. Just off the rip. I know you're not going to do too much digging, but I've got five guesses, and I'm pretty
I
sure at least one of them will land.
In the next 5 years. Oh man, give me your five, and then I'll let me
So
mull this over.
right off the rip, I tell you this, I'll leave off the most obvious one, and that's
Okay,
Taylor. I'll leave her off.
she's not good. Yeah.
Um, I'm gonna say Post Malone. I
Oh,
think
that's a
he
good one.
he could be. I think he could be one. I think Beyonce.
Mm,
I think Miley Cyrus.
mm,
Um,
yeah.
I think Ed Sheeran,
Yeah. I mean,
and Who's another one that would be a big enough name? Oh, you want to know one that I would love to see?
Who's
That's
that?
up there? Coldplay.
Oh, I would kill for that.
Coldplay would be a badass Super Bowl halftime show.
Yeah, I don't. If I'm going to go with my, I would like to see some just. I mean, I would love to see a lady. I wouldn't mind seeing a Lady Gaga. I really
That
wouldn't.
would be awesome. Yeah, Lady Gaga would be
She
great.
could. I think she could do a good one. Um, Post Malone. When you said Post Malone, that just struck with me because he's very versatile.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I enjoyed. I'm not gonna lie. I enjoy Justin Timberlake.
Yeah,
He's
Justin
my
Timberlake was great.
he's my my wife says that's where the gayness in me comes out,
Hmm.
and
I get it, man. I get it.
but and if you're gonna or just get like if you're gonna do for the old folks, give the old folks their review and get some of these bands that have that are on their way out. Get a wheel the Rolling Stones out there. I don't know, but I
Well,
I
so
would.
get this. So this is the top 20. I'll do the top 20. And I number 20 is probably not going to play the Super Bowl. Kanye West is number
Yeah,
20 of Spotify's top artists.
I thought about him. Yeah.
But 19 is Sabrina Carpenter, 18 Post Malone, 17 Ed Sheeran, 16 is David Guetta, 15 Travis Scott,
Mm-mm.
14 Eminem, 13 Drake, 12 Justin Bieber. I didn't say him, but I could
kind
see
of
him.
thought about him. I kind of thought
Mhm.
about him.
Another one I left off, but I think could do it is number 11, Ariana Grande.
Yeah.
10 is Taylor Swift. Number 9 is SZA, who just performed. Number 8, Rihanna, who has performed. 7 is Coldplay, who, again, I think would be there. 6, Kendrick, who just performed. Number 5, would love to see perform. However, America's definitely not ready, is Bad Bunny. 4, who I could see, Billie Eilish.
Mm-hmm.
3, like you said, Lady Gaga. 2, The Weeknd, who has done it. And number 1, the most listened to artist that I can't believe I left off my list,
Bruno Mars.
because this is a shoe-in.
Yeah.
Bruno Mars. Bruno Mars
I
would
was gonna say it had to be
kill.
Bruno. It had to be Bruno Mars because I thought, and Bruno Mars was that 4 years ago. Was that 4 years ago that he did his show? I think that was 4 years ago, and
His
he just. I mean, he has that.
Has Bruno Mars done the Super Bowl?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
thought that was the weekend. Really?
No, no,
Bruno
no, no,
Mars did
no,
the Super Bowl?
no. Bruno Mars did the Super Bowl. Let me do my look here real quick. But yeah,
Oh, back when he came out with Red Hot Chili Peppers in 2014.
yeah, I
That's right.
forgot about
They joined the Red Hot Chili Peppers. They
yes,
joined the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
yes. I forgot about
That
that.
was with Beyonce. So that was Red
Yeah,
Hot Chili
that
Peppers, and they brought out Bruno Mars and Beyonce. That's right. And
and
that was an amazing
that was an amazing.
halftime show. That
Yeah,
was
it
a great
was.
one.
And I mean,
Yeah.
why don't you get just a super collaborative? I mean,
Hmm.
it's been a long time since we've seen a super collaborative. Well, I mean, like I said, Dre, Eminem, 50 Cent, Snoop Dogg, Mary J. Blige. I forgot who else was in that one, but that was to me that oh the rap and blah blah blah. I was like, look, as a kid who grew up in the in the '90s and the early
Hmm.
2000s and in college, and that stuff is what I listened to.
Yeah.
I totally vibed out on that, and I loved it. And the Super Bowl is a hard, and think about that. That is a difficult audience to play to because you have 130 million people. They're not all going to be R&B artists or
No,
R&B
no,
fans. They're not all
you're
going to be rap
definitely gonna
fans.
get the I couldn't understand what the hell they were
No,
saying.
can't understand
Uh
anything.
yeah, no, but I think that if you can at least make it entertaining,
Hmm.
show that you want to be there. And I don't know. I just felt like this last show could have been something great. They had an opportunity. They should have. You're in New Orleans. You're in Lil Wayne's hometown.
Yeah.
You could have done something with him. They chose not to, and whether that's because again, this is another thing, I don't know if people know this or not, but one of the individuals responsible for the decision of who plays the Super Bowl is Jay-Z.
Yeah,
It's
you told me
Jay-Z.
that. I couldn't
And
believe that.
yeah, and so it's no wonder that he is going to have his own politics
Oh my
going on as
God.
to who and who is not performing. But yeah, I don't know. I'm with you. No one's going to truly be happy, but
No.
it's got to be someone who or a group who has made a generational impact, who has multiple hits where, and when I say hits, I'm not talking about like within their niche of this is, top 50 United States song. No, 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 no. I'm talking a song that even your grandpa who, doesn't listen to any kind of music go, I've heard of this guy. I've heard of this. That is who needs to be performing
Yeah.
here.
You
And
need more of a household name.
yes, 100%. And so hopefully, going forward, there's that changes, and as long as we keep Morgan Wallen off of the, Super Bowl stage, I'll continue
God.
to be happy.
Tell him to keep his white sheets at home, and
White sheets at home, keep
and
the,
cross and his lighter
don't
and his
get too
bladder
don't
fluid.
get
Yeah.
too drunk and throw chairs off of buildings.
God.
Yeah. Stupid is
Oh
as stupid does, but
well.
such is life. I mean, but I mean, in good news, the NFL is now, the sad news is NFL is done. Good news is MLS kicks off next weekend, and in
We're
just a few short weeks, I think we're at 28 days till UFL kickoff, which means Battle Hawk football
That's right.
is back, and we will
The one
be
thing that you and I
catching
can't agree on.
a game together. We
Yes.
will be
Oh
catching a
my
game
gosh, that has
together
got.
this year because
I was. I knew that we were going to get the same head coach back, and it looks like. Why did the quarterback's name just go blank?
AJ McCarron, he's not coming back.
AJ McCarron
But
is.
AJ McCarron is not coming back. However, we did get the free agents that we've brought in. I'm optimistic about. The one that I'm really excited for, I am going to lose his name, and this is actually going to annoy me, but he was the quarterback for the TCU
Oh.
Horned Frogs football team in 2022. The year that they went to the national championship game. Now, mind you, it was not a very good national championship game. But something Dugan or Duggan, Max Duggan.
Max Duggan. Right. Max
Yes,
Duggan.
who had a phenomenal year that year. I believe set conference records in passing yards and touchdowns and passer ratings.
So is there? What about that back? What about that back? Manny Wilkins? Is that his name?
Oh,
is he coming? I don't know if he's.
Yeah, I think he's still there. Let me.
Yeah. So
because I know exactly the kid that played, and he was very. Great, kind of polar opposite of what AJ McCarron was, but when we needed someone to be on the run, he made it happen. He was a quarterback, Manny Wilkins, yes, from Arizona State.
Yep,
he is still on the team, and he played great football when he needed to. Very dynamic, and if you're from the, even if you're in the St. Louis or the Missouri area, or if you live in an area where you do have a UFL team, I strongly recommend checking out a game.
It's entertaining. It's very entertaining to watch. It's
because this is one thing I was telling a good friend of mine when he was like, "Well, how is the environment?" I was like, "I want you to understand something." So, for the most part, so here's to kind of break it down. The UFL is, in all, for lack of better, it's minor league football. Okay, so as a St. Louis fan of the St. Louis team, and I go to a game and there's 40,000 people,
more than any other UFL team.
These are 40,000 diehard actual football fans. You are going to a minor league football game, and there's 40,000 people. Now, this is not a knock on, and I'll even just say it, the Chiefs have one of the better fan bases locally in the NFL. The games continue to sell, year after year. since they've been good. But a thing about the Chiefs, though, is because of their success, there are, unfortunately, true fans have been priced out of football games.
God,
So there are,
yeah, they
people
have.
will go and it's more of a social thing. Like I've been to those games, and yeah, obviously there's Chiefs fans that are passionate, but you can also tell there's people that are just there because they want to be around other people.
Mhm.
Whereas at the UFL games, even if there's a crowd
The
of 10,000
fans,
people or a crowd of
true
40,000
fans.
people, they are true fans there to watch football. And I tell you, I went to 3 Rams games while they were at the Jones Dome. Now, to be
Mhm.
fair,
Mhm.
they were abysmal,
Yep.
and that was their ownership tanking them to send them to a different market. That's a different story for a different day.
Yeah.
But
We still.
um,
Yeah.
the 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 crowd in St. Louis at the Battlehawks game,
Insane.
louder
Insane.
louder than any Rams game I'd ever been into. Insanely loud. I can't say it's louder than Arrowhead. Arrowhead gets loud, but it was definitely louder than
For a
Paycor
UFL game,
when I
that's
went to
really
the
loud.
Bengals Packers game. It definitely blew that out of the water, and there was 20,000 less people. So
When you
it
go
is
to
very,
when
very
you
impressive.
well, and you watch some of the other markets, the one that stands out to me is the Birmingham Stallions.
Yeah.
You watch their games. There's
Hmm.
like, I bet you if there's 10,000 people in that stadium, I'd be surprised. The only other one
Yeah.
that I think comes close to that not I think it's San Antonio. Is that the Brahmas? Is that the San Antonio or is that the
Yeah,
Brahmas?
they
They
do
have
good. The one that's also a solid fan base is and they're smart, is the DC Defenders, the
because they
DC
play in
team.
and they play
They
in a soccer.
play in
They play.
a smaller stadium,
Mm-hmm.
which in my opinion is the way to do it.
Yep.
St. Louis, we're a bit different. Um we have 40,000 people. Yes, they have to go to a stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Um but like, you know, if I for optics of viewing, for optics of, just the game, like it made no sense to me that the New York teams were playing in MetLife with 8,000 people showing up. It didn't make sense. Um, there's other places where they have teams where they also have, soccer stadiums. You could have made it work. You could have gone to a college stadium. You could have made it work to where you're playing, where the optics are just better. Because again, this sounds silly, but if there's only so many people in the stands, if someone watches it on television, they see that there's not people there, they're really not going to care. It's the
You're
same
not gonna
reason why in
no.
the NFL, the Jacksonville Jaguars don't play a lot of national games because their team has
There's
been
nobody.
nobody there. So optics are a huge thing, especially when it comes to those TV deals.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
You want
and
people seeing it.
and so I think that's a big thing for the UFL. I was excited to see that they are actually looking at expanding,
Mm-hmm.
not this season, but next season.
Yeah, I
But
saw that.
I hope they do it smart. I don't want to see them go to, uh, you know, um, I don't want to see them have a team in New York. I would prefer them to go to
Get them.
Alabama,
Yeah,
go
I was gonna say
to Columbus, Ohio,
right.
go to Omaha.
Get them a market where
Mhm.
Nebraska. Those guys. If
Mhm.
you've seen a Cornhuskers college football game, they will have 90,000
Mhm.
people in
Yeah.
that stadium, and they had when they did college. I mean, those guys. You want to talk about people who come out for sports? Is those folks in Nebraska? Because whenever they do like they'll every year for the last 2 or 3 years now, they've done volleyball and in that stadium, and they will sell every seat in for a
Mhm.
volleyball game. 90,000 people for a
Mhm.
volleyball game.
Yep.
And if you bring a semi-pro team to Omaha or to you will, I guarantee you they would have a fan base because those
Yeah.
Nebraska people love sports. They love sports out
And
there.
and that's the thing is, because I mean, there's only so much wheat and corn in Nebraska to keep you entertained. You know what I'm saying? I just watched Children
Oh,
of the Corn the other day, which was,
oh, that's
uh,
frightening.
a great,
Oh,
stupid, horrible film. But
well, I'm glad
no,
that we
it's
could.
yeah, it's the same thing. Like I would kill. I think it'd be so cool because it doesn't exist anymore. Rest in peace, Arena Football League.
That
But
was fun. That was
I
fun
would
football to watch.
love I would love for if Iowa was to get a team, let's say in Iowa City or in Ames,
Barnstormers,
be the Barnstormers, baby. Be the
Barnstormers.
Barnstormers.
I want to tell you
Kurt
something.
Warner is the coach.
Kurt Warner. If you watched American Underdog, not the best movie of all, I mean, but when you look at the dynamics of what was behind that team, the guy who started the Barnstormers, that guy just had a vision that, hey, people will come out in Iowa to watch football, and they did. And when Kurt Warner, who was a UNI guy, University of Northern Iowa guy, who was a local hero, and they're playing in their backyard, I mean, they sold out. And arena football is just like, I mean, it is literally 8-man football. If you've ever been to a high school 8-man football game, I mean, it's fast, it's high paced, it's high scoring, it's a lot of action. And
you can go on YouTube and just pull up some Arena League football highlights, and they've tried to make it work a couple of times. Again, I think the issue lies in the local market has to be there.
Yep. The fan base.
And you could get a TV deal, but again, it's tough because you go, okay, the TV deal would have to make sense, and players would not be able to get paid at a level that they are with the NFL because the revenue share just wouldn't be there. So, but again, a place where we see it actually, the model be successful with minor leagues is like a lot of minor league hockey teams do fairly
incredible.
Well. Yeah.
But again, talked about Jacksonville earlier. I've got friends. I have friends who live in Jacksonville, Florida, who are season ticket holders for the. I don't even know what the name of that. But when they go to every game, and you see, and he'll do a live shot or whatever, and I mean that. And it's probably a 10,000 person arena, but that place is packed to the gills.
Yep. So in Kansas City, there's a Cable Dahmer Arena. They have the Kansas City Mavericks, who are currently their league's reigning champion right now. In Dubuque, there was the Five Flags Center where the Dubuque Thunderbirds would play hockey, and
I forgot about that.
Consistently had a great audience. And so, minor league sports, if albeit not, the most insanely profitable thing, is a very realistic thing. And it really just depends on, again, the market. Because that's the thing. If you live in an area where you have a minor league team, whatever it is, go check it out. I assure you, you'll be able to find tickets for $10 to $20, cheaper than any place you're going to be. Yep. And here's the thing. The big difference between minor leagues and the pros. Yeah, these guys might not be as good as pro athletes, but I tell you this, if they're 30 years old playing minor league football, it's because their heart and soul is in it. Yep. And it is not just for the paycheck. I can assure you that.
Yep.
I can assure you that.
Well, listen, it was fun talking about something other than politics for a week. That was
yes, and we will definitely be getting back to that. I know that there's a lot of dust settling. There's been a handful of things.
Tonight.
Yes, there have been some new official swear-ins. Today. People that have been approved to take their cabinet seats. So as that list continues to unroll, we will jump on and kind of discuss these different individuals. And
also, we do have a special. We haven't had a guest on in a while, but we're getting it lined up. A former, I believe, classmate of Sean's, and he's a former student of mine, and he's really good kid, and he's got a lot of stuff he'd like to share, and we've got that coming up. And again, we haven't forgot about our little talk about how we're going to do some American perspective from past history to current event kind of things. That's still brewing. We've got a lot of great things planned coming up, but again, hey man, it's good to be back.
Yes, sir. Always. Thank you guys so much, and we will talk to you all next week.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to the Voice of Reason podcast. Check out our previous shows and clips on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok.